This is completely when we are talking about, okay, we have different types of the API, but the majority of time you have, we divided between two, GraphQL and in this case, REST API. REST API, you you see what you get, right? You just send the API, and this API will return you wherever you want, 1,000 or fields or wherever. You cannot decide. It's just direct. You will always get it, right? You go and, for example, you go to McDonald's and you say, "Come, give me the combo number 3," and they just serve you, right? This is what you want. You are not customizing. With the GraphQL, in this case, you can compare it with a chef and you say, I want this, this, and this, and this, and this. And you can be very specific in the information that you want. And the majority of the time, you have these nested APIs or that they can be 100 or can be 2 or 100 APIs. They are in one backend, and this backend join everything, and you just have one endpoint. That endpoint can be for receiving, for mutating, for in this case, for deleting, for updating, or wherever you want it. And the majority of time, we just call it mutation, right? Would you mutate the data? One thing, majority of time, you will not use GraphQL in small companies or in a small project. Why? Not needed. I mean, REST API is very fast and you really don't need all this pomposity or you have it of GraphQL. Has advantage, yes. For example, when you combine GraphQL with Apollo client, you get superpowers. For example, you get a cache, like the data get into cache, you have more optimization, and you can avoid to use, for example, Redux just right away using this. And you can decide in this case how you will want to manipulate your cache. But cache is, someone knows what is a cache? Or have you heard the word before?
Cache or cache?
Cache, cache. Okay,
Yeah, I
cache.
hear many times, but I still don't know what is this.
Okay. For example, you save some information. When you make a request to the server, you can go through the network. Through the network is the application go direct to the backend and check everything. The cache means you have something in storage in your computer the majority of the time, or for example, in some service like a Reddit or Kafka, there are other enterprise stuff. You save it, and instead of going to the server, you go to the cache. I mean, you go to this data that is already storage, maybe in your computer, and you can manipulate it before going to the backend. That allows you to, for example, to have faster access to that data. The majority of time, that data is storage in RAM, and because it's storage in RAM, is the fastest information that we can access, right? RAM is the fastest that we have. That is nothing more. It's like you have money, right? But you get some money and you put it in your pocket. Your pocket is faster than the bank. You are accessing to something that is over there, or your car. Aha, that is what we have. Don't get, in this case, worry about cash. Cash is something that you don't even need to take care. But GraphQL take care of it by default. Something that we cannot do with REST API. REST API, you call the REST API, give you information. You want to do something, and then you are direct, right? Direct from one side to another one. When you have GraphQL, I think like with REST APIs, you usually have in this case the documentation. With GraphQL, you will have these GraphQL playgrounds. They are arriving direct. All the GraphQL APIs, they have this documentation, okay? This playground that you have here. It will change a little bit between, how can I say it, between APIs, but you can see this one is one of the most common, Ricky and Morty. I think I have another one here that I get it for the class just to show you that exists some different API. This one here, I will just put it. And it will be a little bit different. Look, but at the very end here, you have the documents here, and this one has the documents here. I will give you this API, but both are GraphQL. GraphQL use objects in order to fetch data. You create, in this case, these queries. These queries, the only thing that you need to do is identify what do you want to fetch for the GraphQL. For example, here we have the documents, and let's say that you want to get the characters, right? Then you just arrive to the GraphQL and you say, hey, give me the characters. Okay, then we just open brackets, and like an object, we say, what do we want? We want the result. Okay, then give me the result. And the result, in this case, will give you some information. You can click here, look, result, character, and it's saying everything that you want to bring for that. For example, you can say, I want the name. This is just one query. Say, query the characters, give me the result and the name, and you press here enter.
It is
And
like
it will give.
creating by itself your data.
No, you are fetching from the backend. Or what is the question? I'm sorry, maybe I didn't understand exactly the question.
It looks like you are creating the data by yourself. I mean, like you are putting what you need.
Exactly. You are
And
creating, in this case, your response, what information you want. The database is over there, and I am creating this query like I were SQL, and I say, give me this from the database. And you create the structure that you want. I mean, it's defined here, but you are saying, okay, I want the name, but I also want the species. Okay, we say species.
how is this one in the VS Code? This one, it looks like the different website, but in our VS Code, for example, if we need the data, it's the
There
next
will
step.
happen two things. It will happen. First one, we will have to connect it. And right now, I just wanted to show you how you create the structure. The majority of the time, the API will give you the playground. And then what we do is we copy this query and we bring it to our VS Code using, in this case, Apollo client. Apollo client allow me to connect to this API and I can do it. That it will be the second step after we just explored how we query.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's absolutely. Two things happen here. First one, the majority of time you use this playground. This one is connected with the GraphQL backend. The GraphQL backend create this playground. This playground is like I have never met. This is the documentation of the API. Everything that you are seeing here is the documentation. Usually you use the documentation to create your schema. This is the schema that we are creating. When you have this schema, you take this schema that you already know that is the information that you wanted, and you connect it to your project into your VS Code, right? But this part, it will be the same. As I will show you here, there are some quite different that you can say it, and a little bit different products that you can find. For example, here, let's say like you want products. If I'm not mistaken, we will have to create this one. Just say it. Oh, sorry. Okay. You usually say query. Then after you have the query, we say, for example, products. And inside the product, usually, for example, we can get the price. Let me see if, and here I have the price. I have the products, and the products has, I hate when the playground is not price. And we can see what else do we want. For example, products, product limit. Then we have price. And here we can just say title. And we start getting here the different products. But everything will always arrive here for this playground or this documentation, because this is the documentation that allow you to create the schema that we have it. This is the documentation. For example, the documentation to the REST API, you have it here, the resource and everything that you have it. But with GraphQL, because you have to create it, then you will have this GraphQL playground in every project that you have. For example, here we have the species, and I enter into this one, and it's saying, okay, then here into here, it has to species, I see. And if I have an error, here is saying species human, or what we have it. I can go back and I can get, for example, the image, and so forth, right? This is sometimes you can have information over information. For example, if I am not a location, if I'm not mistaken, location is an object. Yeah. I press location, and location has a name. And for example, here, dimension. And I can just start it again, for example, residence. And here is when I have an error, it's saying that inside there is some information, for example, resident, and here I can get the name. And this one will start creating a very crazy documentation. Let's say, for example, the name is Riggs, having the location is Citadel of Riggs, dimension is unknown, and these are all the people that are living in this time of resident. If I remove this part, I just having the information that I needed. Removing. And this is the response that basically is giving me my API. GraphQL is nothing more than this. Okay, it gets more complicated with as much as you want to, for example, to filter the data, but you can start playing with this API and just explore it. Everything start with the word query. After the word query and the parentheses, in this case, you have everything that you may need in this moment. Nothing more. I would like you, if you don't mind, to try to fetch some 2-3 minutes, try to fetch something, or just to look over there. Maybe you find something interesting in this case. Majority of time, remember, documentation will be very important. And what do you want? For example, you can just get, instead of get the characters, I can get something like a locations. And inside the location, I go here, for example, location, locations, and inside locations, I enter location, and I say here, result, and result has information inside. I press in result, and I can say, for example, name. The information here, I don't know it. What I do, I use it, the documentation to explore what I wanted. How I know if I need result is when I select any of them, it will tell me, okay, you need result. And this will be the same with any type of type that you have. For example, here products, if I go in category, category is showing me something and product is showing me something. And for example, category is showing me something. And these are recursive information that you can get it. There is nothing, it's more about relations between the information. Some information can be referenced to another part of the database. And that create, here you can say like every of these schemas that you see here, maybe they are one API. We don't know. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Would you like to try a little bit how maybe to fetch something? You know,
In our
or
VS,
Mario, this
Mhm.
one is a schema, right? The query,
Yes.
like results name. This one is a schema.
Yeah, this is the schema that we are
What is
creating.
the resolver? Can we see resolver or it's happening on the backend?
When you press here, everything the resolver, you don't care about the resolver because the resolver basically you just when you are working with GraphQL, you create the schema, you send the schema, the resolvers are basically into the backend and you just get the data itself and you just capture the data.
And also about the query, usually in our URL, we also have query, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same query or not? It's not the same.
Is when we are no, it's not the same because the difference with the query is, for example, you can query in an API. You can have this where, right? Like a where or something. When you are passing it, you are even bringing all the information back. For example, you can filter like give me the ID one, but it will bring you all the information that exists into that ID. Here you can do something similar, but for example, let's say like we have this query. This query, I will get the character. This character, if we go here, this character, we can get it this ID. If I'm not mistaken, then I can get this ID that I have here, and I will bring it from one ID. And I will get just one name. Okay, Mario, ID is not defined. If ID has to arrive here, and I say ID is equals to, for example, ID here. This ID that I am adding here is basically the variables that I am passing. Let's say that I will pass ID 3. I think it would be ID. Oh, object ID. I don't usually say expect an string, but I got here I have to pass the I usually don't pass it here the variables. I think I will pass the number 3. Here is saying expect an ID.
So the main difference is in the query, or not the query, the GraphQL. You can specify what you want. In the rest, you cannot.
Exactly. And the other one you cannot do it.
So I will change my CV now that I know GraphQL.
Yeah, now you know just give me
I mastered.
Does the GraphQL also have a header and body?
it has, but usually it's not something that you just match. It's not something that we use it much that I can say. I am not sure if I had to add a big ID or I just had to add ID 3. Ah, okay. It was just this. You have to add D3. And for example, here I am just getting one character. I have name and status. Then status alive. And you can just start getting here.
Why you
Wherever.
why you in a line 1? What does it mean you showing the ID with the capital ones in the showing?
That means that is this one is type. Is their type.
But after the ID it doesn't say to show like how to call it Восклицательный.
Okay, there is two things are happening. First one, GraphQL is highly typed. Then when you are passing, for example, here I am just saying that I am passing one variable. This variable is the type ID. And here I am saying in the character, get the ID, and this ID replace it with the variable that I am passing you. This one is called variable ID. That is this one that I am passing here.
I understand this logic. I understand after the last character in line 1. Why
The
you add
question
the
is, why did you put the exclamation mark?
yes.
Because I am saying that exists.
Doesn't exist?
That means like a exists. It
It's
will
supposed to
always be there.
JavaScript.
Yeah.
It says it's not exist when you put it. Here it exist.
No, this means exists. It will be is for example is required and exists, and I will give it to you. I am telling the compiler that it will receive that ID.
Okay.
Is just that I'm just saying I will give it to you.
Okay.
And in TypeScript is also the same. You can specify exists. Believe me, I know that exists. That is the only thing. And then you start pass. And this one that we are doing here, passing this one is similar what Maxat said. That Maxat said was saying, okay, we can make a request, right? We can pass some parameters. Then in GraphQL, we usually pass it as a variable, and those variables allow us to fetch that information from GraphQL.
Mario, can you just change the ID to 2? I just want to see how it's gonna change.
Yeah. Change here
Because
to
it
2.
was a different name. It's gonna be
Yeah.
right? Morty. If you
And
put
if
one,
I
it's gonna be Rick.
exactly.
Oh, makes sense.
One more question. When you call the, for example, the characters without any variables and IDs, you put the results, which it doesn't say in our documentation. So it's always supposed
It
to be.
is said. No, it said in the documentation.
Where?
If I go here, okay, I will remove this one because I don't need it, right? Right now I don't need it. I am just passing this here. I just have the query, the
Yes.
normal. Okay, now I will get characters. Okay,
Mhm.
we go to characters, and I open it because I know that there is something inside. I go with characters, result.
But try to episode.
Well, if an episode, this is episode. Okay, we go to episode.
Because it's give me error for the episode, and when I put the
Okay,
results
I
and then it's not working.
okay. You always have to open it here. For example, episode opens and here is result.
Oh, I've been now I get it because I opened the another episode, not episodes. I opened the episode.
Episode. Yeah, for episode, you need to pass an ID or something in order to have it.
Okay.
And then you have episode.
I didn't mention this. I noticed this one.
Yeah. And then you have, in this case, the result created, for example. And then you have it. You go to episode, you have created, and maybe we have name. And here you have pilot and all the information.
Yeah, I see. I opened the wrong one, so.
Believe me, it's the most common thing that it happen the majority of the time. Here is nothing more. We have to follow the documentation. It is not much that we need to do. One thing, in order to use GraphQL into React, we cannot use GraphQL, for example, like we use fetch. When you are fetching the information, you just fetch the information and that's it, right? You are not doing anything more because it's a native that you have it. GraphQL is not native for JavaScript or for any other services. In that case, we use Apollo client. Apollo client is the one that gives you the chance to interact with the server. These are there are two big ones. One is called Relay here. The one is Relay, and the other one is Apollo client. A Relay is like this, is the GraphQL client that is called with you. In order to connect to GraphQL, you need some connection. We cannot just connect it. It's not native of any. There are some, for example, if I'm not mistaken, Next, where's in Gatsby, those are framework from React. They accept GraphQL, but in the simple React, we need to use something. We have a Relay and we have Apollo client. And as always, I say npm Apollo client. We go npm Apollo client here, and we can just go, for example, relay. Okay, here you have Apollo client has around 2 million, 3 million, blah, 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 blah. And relay has around 121,000. You may understand which one to use. Relate is a very good architecture. Basically was the first one, was also created by Facebook and everything. Here it is, was created. But at the very end, Apollo personally, I think like I want the competence and it's like the industry that we have. It has 3 million something is understandable because Apollo on GraphQL is not something that small companies tends to use. Okay. Then what we have to do, we have to use this thing into one React project. The configuration is nothing out of the world. We can basically use, in this case, Apollo, and Apollo will give you this one. For example, this is a GraphQL query. This one will have it, GraphQL. And GraphQL is this one that you see in GraphQL. Is graphic query language. Graphic query language. It's just that. That you see in query. If you hear it, for example, to SQL or non-SQL, well, here you have something similar that is called graph query language. We use graph query language in order to use in this case this new tool. And in order to connect one and another, we will need to install in our project GraphQL, and also we will need to add one extra package that allows us to interact with GraphQL because it's not natural we have it. As I say, you can just select to work with Relay or with Apollo. I will be using Apollo because of the reason that I already gave it to you. These are the two things that we need to install: GraphQL and Apollo. Apollo. I will just send it to him. GraphQL and Apollo.
So basically, these two things is gonna connect the GraphQL to our VS Code.
Exactly. That we
Inside
will
VS
write.
Code, we can call that query itself.
Yeah, we will.
We will
And
do it.
we will do it right now. Just let me open my beautiful VS Code.
One more. Which one is better? You said.
I didn't say which. I don't think I don't have the possibility to say which one is better. I will
I mean,
say just Apollo is the most common one to use it.
Okay.
What I say, this one was created by Facebook, and in Facebook they use Relay, but commercially it's more used Apollo. But most of them are doing the same stuff. I mean, it's just one of another. How I select it? For the usage, no more. And the majority of time you can go to the version and say, for example, look, 6 hours ago was the last release from Apollo, and here 2 days ago. I mean, and the majority are Canary release, and that is problematic if they are in Canary. Latest is this one, the 18 version, and here we are with the 3.12. Just for your information, this one is quite new. When you see this kind of version like this, these are called Canary. That means like they are not released to the public. They are sometimes just to testing. Then it's quite dangerous to use this version. Usually you have to use the one that say stable or the worst, this dev or experimental. Try to never use this other version that say maintenance or things like that. They may bring you problems to your projects. It's just, but do whatever you want at the very end. Okay, I will use the project that we were working last week because I don't want to be installing more stuff. But I will just delete. Why this is not allow me to? Okay, delete. I will remove this counter. I think is too cool to have a con. Okay. I don't need this two. And this to the living. Let me see if the okay by project npm start dev just to see if okay npm run dev, right? Okay, it's working. It doesn't matter. I will delete everything what I don't need it. I don't need this. And I don't need this counter. I don't need this stuff. Everything that I will be doing right now is not that I am smart. I am basically copying the information from the documentation. Let's start installing our thing. npm install, and I will install a GraphQL because we need it. I already passed you that information, and I will also install Apollo client. Just to see. Enter. Whoa, beautiful. And we go here, and you will have to see something like a Apollo client somewhere. I installed it in the right way. I think I installed it in the wrong way. Yeah. Says the by testing, by project, and here I have to install it. If I go, here it is. Apollo, GraphQL, and Apollo. There you have. Oh, would you mind to install it yourself too? I can give you some time if you don't mind,
Okay.
if you want, and let me
Uh,
know when you finish.
Any project or
Wherever you want, doesn't matter. Install it because we will create everything from zero. Just get any project.
well, I can create new one.
Oh, okay, as your wish. What make you happy, my friend? What make you happy?
I have already forget how to create the tweet project.
Oh, yeah. The good thing is like when you are working, you just create one project and forget about it.
Yeah.
This thing about creating project all the time is just a headache. Mhm.
Homework not found.
It's okay. You let me know when you feel, when you are ready. Hey, David, one question. How I almost a month ago, I had one food, I think it's called sprain. When you harm the tendons on your foot, any recovery technique?
When I what? When you do what? Sorry.
I was bouldering and I fell, and I fell with my foot in this way. Then
Okay.
I stretched my tendons on my foot. Then
Oh.
I think it's called sprine. Sprine, I think is.
I have no idea how it's called by English.
Uh-huh.
I barely speak English. You ask me about the.
Okay, okay. I will tell you in Russian. Then maybe you know. It's like, oi.
Остекление.
Растения
Right.
Saviata is okay. No, I cannot even read it. I can just
Остекление.
Well, look what I'm talking.
there is
Ah,
another thing.
okay.
You start your thing.
Well, what happened?
I was bouldering and I fell from like a 3 meters or something like that. It was not that high, but I harmed the tendons on my foot.
The knee, you mean? The knee?
A foot, the front part of my foot, like this. It's not
Like the
basically the knee.
it's uh it looks like the knee itself, no? The ankle knee.
Uh,
The ankle, right?
yeah. It is the this part.
Yeah. Oh, it happens a lot with me.
Yeah.
A
Okay.
lot.
Yeah, I'm basketball player was I played for
Mhm.
the like many tournaments and it often happened in the basketball.
No, my God.
When you jump it and when after you
You
jump, you have
yeah.
to lay to the court again, but somebody could like stay over there or you can like a lot. This is like my weakness actually. I cannot play now due to the injuries.
Yeah. And they take so much time to get healed. Awful. It's a lot of time. Okay.
It's gonna be, I guess, 3 years.
Please don't tell me that I will be 3 years not doing
Oh,
anything
you
because
can walk it after. You can walk it after like 3 months, but you can
yeah,
run the or kind of like this around to 1 year. If you wanted the full restoration, you're gonna take 3 years.
man.
But you have to do the physical therapy 100%.
Oh no, but I already can walk. It was not
Did
that.
you
Huh?
check your X-ray?
Yes, it's nothing broken. He was a level 2, and they said that 2 months you will be fine.
And they give you the bunch of exercises to do it every day.
Yeah, but
It's very important to follow it because I also like stopped doing the exercises
uh-huh,
and it's recovered by itself, but
uh-huh,
it became very weak. And even like when I'm like now the running or the playing
uh-huh.
basketball, I feel like it's gonna like if I didn't have any injuries, I feel like it's like getting harder and harder. And I feel that it's very important to do the exercises every day.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And I want to go and run after 3 weeks or whatever. Okay, did you finish installing?
Yeah.
Way you like fetching it? Do we have to create like in our separate or we can fetch like component or
Oh, you can use any project that you want, but I need you to install these two dependencies, GraphQL and Apollo client, the one that I installed here in any project, and we will connect it. Yeah, these two. They are in the chat. I wrote them.
yeah, I can.
Mhm. Please install it.
GraphQL and Apollo client. He says no, not such a file or directory. What the?
Try to go directly where is your project. Like, for example, I was not installed in the right way. And for example, here I have my project and I have to install it there.
Okay. Oh, since we've been using like almost 2 weeks the yarn, now I forget how to use the npm. I will forgetting to use the npm install. I just put install.
That happened. For me, happens that I use npm pmpm, and I usually write in pmpm all the time.
Oh my god, how never mind. I hate it, man.
Welcome to the cloud. Everybody hate it.
No, when you
Why we
open
did it? Uh-huh.
when you open some project in like in other folder in your terminal, always pushing you back to the started folder, and you install something there, and every time you open the new Zesh, it just keep you back to your like starter folder, and you install something there.
Oh, well, you don't have to install it, yeah, because you are opening a new terminal, then the new terminal go to the first one, and basically
Yes.
you need to move, and yeah, I got it.
Always have to put CD, go to this folder.
Uh, why we didn't were born rich, right? And instead of be destroying our head with this.
Uh,
And Maxat, you didn't have problem installing anything? All cool so
No, I'm
far?
good. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
good. I finished.
Okay, cool. 2 minutes more for the everything we go. Uh,
we can continue already.
okay, okay. Everything, the majority of time you will install it here. Okay. I will give you again the API that we are using. Okay, from here. This is the API. This one will look similar when you are installing something from Redux. We have to import 3 things. We need to import 3 things, and everything we are getting it from Apollo client. From at Apollo client. 3 things. One of them is Apollo client. Okay, this is Apollo client. The second thing that we need is Apollo provider. You can imagine, right? Apollo provider. And we need something that is called in-memory cache. Why? Okay, by default, is very strange that you will need to manipulate cache. There are two very difficult things to work in computer science. One is manipulating cache, then the majority of time you will just need to call it, and let's pray that you will never need to make modification in that thing because it can get very tricky. Then we have to create one client. The new client is saying here is a new Apollo client. This is creating one, let's say, the connection between you, and here we have one object. And this is the configuration that we have. You have the URI right here, the core, and you will have the cache. The cache is the memory, and this URI that we have it, please use the API that I passed to you. This one. There we have it. Now we just have to, as this guy is saying me right now, just the tab 9. This is the configuration. Basically, I am saying Apollo provider. You need a client you need a connection to my client, and my client is an Apollo client that connects to this URL, and the cache is managed by Apollo. That's it. Don't think about protocols or other things. There is, for example, always network cache or whatever. We will take it just the automatic version. And as I say, let's pray that you will never have to need to get into cache problems. And I don't see like you will, at least the first a couple of years of your career, no one will let you touch the cache. Okay, this is all the configuration that we needed. Nothing more is needed. This kind of configuration may have, for example, in the Apollo client, in this case that you have it, basically you can have like a zone that I said, the cache policy or other type of information. But this one, the majority of the time, you don't touch it. By default, you have cache and network. This is the policy. The policy is the way that you want the cache get treated. Most of the time, this default policy will be enough. If you want to know more about policies, you can just go to the Apollo and just write it here. And here you will have the different policies, the cache first, cache only, network first, network only, cache and network response, and whatever. And if one day you want, you can say like why cache problems are so bad, and they sucks. I will tell you that in my life, I have been dealing just with one, and I give up after a couple of days. It's just interesting. I am not that good in that one. And the majority of the time, this one will be enough. Let me know when you are ready, Maxat, and we can continue.
I am ready.
Okay, cool. Then, the majority of time, we will need one component, and into this component, we need, okay, one thing. You will see that I will not use, never use this GraphQL, but Apollo need it. That is why we install it. Apollo client need GraphQL, just that. But basically, everything that we do, we bring it from Apollo client.
Apollo only for the GraphQL, not for the REST API?
Yes. Apollo client is direct in this case with GraphQL. Nothing more. Here's come the thing. Let's create one component. The component.
One more question.
Yes.
When we fetching the, for example, GraphQL, right? It's always like in our URL is always supposed to be like GraphQL at the end when we're fetching GraphQL. Like, I mean, that's how the URL always look like?
No, the URL, that nothing will look different. Everything will. You mean this one? No,
Yeah.
no. This can be
For
different.
example, our data is like GraphQL is always supposed to be like at the URL GraphQL at the end, no?
No.
It can be different?
can be different because in our company it looks different. This is the standard one, can be different. But something that you have to know is what they give you, they will give it to you. They will tell you. You will fetch from here. It's not that you have to invent it. The majority of the time, this is documented where you have to collect the data or everything. It's just like that. Then don't get stressed about this URL. This URL, they have to give it to you.
I just wondering.
Yeah, but it's good. It's good. Let's create one component. And this component, we will call it characters, for example. Characters. Well, as always, there is not passing anything. It's just JSX, what we have it. Something interesting here is like we create a function. For example, we create a function. And what can I say it? Let's just get that data. Let's get that data basically. A function, oh, const, okay. Cons, characters, and this is equals in whatever way. It doesn't really matter, return, and we will just return some fragment and we export. As I told you before, the majority of the time, you will bring the information from this. For example, here, let's get the characters. I already know that the characters are arriving from the result. This is something that I know, and I just will get the name and the status, and then I think just, I don't know what dimension. I don't know, the image status and the image. Maybe I want to add an image, whatever. We just tested, all cool. This one will be very useful, okay? This one basically we will copy from here. We'll copy. And what we do here is we basically create, the majority of the time you will import something from what we will import. I'm not inventing from Apollo client, and we will need something. In this case is GraphQL, this one. It's just the GraphQL question. And the majority of the time you will have cons and you create your query in uppercase, query, and what do you want to query? For example, character. Now, you call this GraphQL, and into backticks, we just collect, or we just basically add our query. Nothing more. This GraphQL, the query, and what you are bringing. This GraphQL, you already know. I brought it from here. Now this is a query to GraphQL. Okay, Mario, but how I make this call to the API? Here is the beautiful of GraphQL. We will use something that is called use query. Use query is a hook that will give you some information that is here. It will give you the loading, the error, or the data. basically you can just implement this is loading. You can implement this part of this loading. We can say it like this. Majority of the time you do it like this. If loading, then we return something. We return, I am loading. If you have errors, then if error, then you return your error. If not, then you have here the data. And what you have in the data, you will go data. Then into data, you have characters.
Can you, if you
Yes.
don't mind, can you please the console log the data so we can see the structure?
Oh, yeah. I can, let me not show anything so far.
Mhm.
And I will just console log the data, right? Console log data. And I will get the characters. I will return soon. And I think I want it into the app, yes. Into the app, yes, characters and here. Okay, let's import characters from components, the character. And if everything goes well, we inspect, we go to the console, and here I have it. Characters, and there is an object, result, characters, and
So
here is the information.
no, no array at all. Always
The,
object.
no. Here is an array. Look.
Oh,
Result is an array. And here is the array. Look. Here is characters. Result is an array.
oh, result is so we're mapping the result. Okay, I just want.
Yeah.
Or we can
Okay.
destruct it. Oh no, or we can. No, we have to map it. Okay, we can destruct inside the map.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Then we have here. Oh, for example, you can extract it from data. You can say cons equal data, and you can get like here characters.
Or we can put the data dot characters and get the result.
Absolutely, wherever make you happy. If that make you happy, sure. And then we have the result. And the result, you just map it. And then you have the character. And then we return characters dot character there. We save it, and if we do it properly, there you have.
Can you show me one more time code?
Yes, I will. Here.
Just map it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Well, if you want to extend this part, for example, you have at the moment this one, but we have the image too, right? For example, we can just You can just, and we can just pass an image, right? AMG, Alt, F. We can just pass the name, for example, and I think it's URL, right? SRC. SRC. Okay, SRC. And we know that character dot image. This is just every time that you wanted to make it whatever.
So as I understand the GraphQL, we need only when we have really like complex data, like really like big, which have like many things. That's why you need the only thing
Yeah.
why you need.
And when this data is nested, or when the company is very fancy and they have a lot of money to burn, they use it.
Wow.
It is slower. It is slower the development, but it's so fast. I will show you something. Because this one is, let's go here to the network, and I will just refresh it. Now, look where it's arriving. It's
That's
arriving from
because
the
of
cache.
Apollo, or it's from
It's because of
Apollo?
the Apollo. And look, this is the time that all the photos were immediately bring it. Everything that you have. If I refresh it, every time this one is just coming from the cache. In the case that, for example, I open an incognito and I see it, and I go to the network and I put it, oh, let me just go to the network and I add it. Look, all the photos at arriving are download. But when I refresh, in this case, let me just remove it and I refresh it, they are not arriving from the cache. Because the photos exist, there is nothing. How is managing? Let's ask Apollo how is managing, but all the cache is managed for himself.
That's why I said you when you use GraphQL, you're using only one URL because, for example, the REST API, you always have to add slash and then something. For example, like users or slash something, the different URLs, right? In the Apollo, it's always gonna be one and everything in there. And you just go and see what you need and just like destructure it, like using the GraphQL.
Exactly. And in GraphQL, basically, you just pass everything into main here. This is everything that I am fetching it for this. We will create another one that is just one character, just to pass the ID, and you will see it that is basically the same. But what do you want to show? You just fetch it here.
But one more thing, when the company give you that URL with the like GraphQL data, right? Does it provide you like a main page of how the structure of, for example, the Rick and Morty, you already see the documentation.
Yes.
So the company also provide you the documentation with the
Yes.
Okay.
This one is created default when they are developed, when the backenders develop the in this case the backend, immediately GraphQL create this playground. It's part of the architecture of this type of API. Well, the GraphQL API.
Everybody have this kind of playground when they create
Yes,
the GraphQL?
everybody that use GraphQL will have it.
Oh, that's cool.
This
Nice.
is cool. Yeah, it has some cool stuff because you can basically see what do you want, right? What you are getting, what you are not getting, and it's just straightforward.
Cool.
Then I
One
like
more
it.
time. Can you repeat one more time the last thing? What is the cool?
The cool thing, like everybody has access to this playground, and you can see what you will get it without start coding it. Here, I can just create my my query, and then I just copy, and I know that that query will work. That is very cool.
For example, Maksat, when you work for some company and they give you like data with the GraphQL, they also have the playground, so you can check everything there. I mean, GraphQL provide you that playground.
Which
Yeah.
playground?
This one.
This playground.
This
And
one that,
what is the
and
cool
they
thing?
do. That you can, for example, fetch the information. I don't need to see how uh, to write everything, and I am not sure if it's going to work. For example, if I remove this one, immediately the playground with the real data is giving me the information, and I can see, okay, yes, is what I needed, or no, is what I don't need it, or maybe I am missing something. I mean, you can interact with the API from this playground without installing anything, without connecting anything into your project. I found
In
it
is
the
very
REST
like-
useful.
API,
Do
in
you
the REST
remember
API, oh sorry.
Dawood, do you remember the project with the movies?
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
It looks like the GraphQL.
In the movies, it's just showing the structure of the, like, you cannot do anything with that REST
can do.
API.
You can do change.
The parameters, right? You can
Yeah.
there
Yes,
are
you
some
can change the
field
code, but not the structure. Here you can play with the data. Like even in your VS Code, you have always, like for a REST API, you always have to console log and check and see what's the look like. The GraphQL have already playground, then you can just
Yes,
access
you
your
don't need
own.
to console log to see it how it's looking, right? Yeah,
No,
and
you
that's
don't need to in the movies.
it's
Right?
showing you. Yeah, it's showing you. I remember that if I'm not mistaken, it has some field that you can write some information, right? And then
And you
you
can
call
change it
the
even like how many pages you want, what you want.
They
Yeah.
provide options, but it's the TMDB provided options, not the REST API.
Yeah, what you are doing is creating a more complex API. But as I am saying, there are plus and minus. You can have it. The good thing is, for example, here, I don't need a locations API. Everything is just connected in one API. All the relation or all the reference are already created when it was created, for example. Just saying. I don't need to make a double call to another API. There will always be something good or something bad on everything. For example, in our company, there are plenty of people complaining about why we are using GraphQL if it would be simpler using REST APIs. And that's
Just
it.
fetching
But
it and structure it, right?
no, it's just simple. Sometimes, how can I say? It's true that we have a lot of how can I say it? A lot of APIs, but even though it's manageable. For example, I don't think that we use more than 5 or 6 in my team, and every team use like a 7, something like that. And when you count all the teams, okay, there are 132, but not specifically that you need to know them all.
And just make sure, Mario, so we can call fetching the GraphQL API only with the Apollo and Relay, right? No, we cannot do it with the just regular fetch, right?
No, you
Always
cannot.
we have only 2 options. That's it.
Yeah, no, there are more options. Those are the most common, the best
Oh,
option
okay.
for the say it in this case.
Mm.
Yeah.
What
What
I
is
don't like is provider. What I don't like is provider. When you use the Redux and all context and all this stuff, is gonna be plenty providers in your and then how you get confused.
Don't worry, you will not get confused. Sometimes it will be like this site or all this provider that you have it over there, and it's okay. Uh, let's do something. Just do you remember? And it's basically the same thing. It's just copying. It will have just a small extra configuration that we need. For example, if I want just to get to pass one ID. Is working for you, Maxat? Because I know that you are typing today. I am
Yeah, it's
basic. Okay, cool. Then we will create a new one here, and we'll call it just character. DSX. This
We're
will be
gonna
the same.
put a router.
Not the router, no, because we don't really need a router for the test. But it could be possible. But I just want to create one passing the ID, passing one variable. Do you remember that here, for example, we said I was just passing here one variable ID, the type ID, and I saying that this always will arrive. Then I have this character. Then in this character, I pass the ID, and the ID will be this ID. Then after that, I have the name. I just remember the name. And the variable at the beginning, I didn't know. We just open the bracket and we pass this ID, and I pass, for example, the number.
Why do you need the $sign in the beginning?
It's indicated that it's a placeholder. It's just the language itself, because what we are using here is graphic query language, and it's the way that this is the placeholder and the ID. This is the placeholder when you are getting the data. This one is the type of data that we are getting it here, and this is the ID that is receiving. This one, if we have it here, the character can get the ID, and the ID is this placeholder, and this placeholder arrive from the IDs that I am passing. I know that it sounds quite complicated, but this is the way this is just the syntax. I cannot do much. This is how GraphQL define in this case, the placeholder or the variables for saying that you are passing. This is the variable. This is the type of that variable. And with the $sign, I am just saying like I do, okay, we are expecting that is in this case required, that is required in order to filter it. And this one is this one, and this one is what I am passing here.
That variable looks like the JSON, right? Since you are putting ID to the double commas,
This one,
yeah, it looks like the JSON.
yeah, it's basically an object that I am passing here.
No, it's
And
not object, since like you see the ID you put to the quotes.
Yeah, you're right. It looks more
And
like a yes.
it looks like JSON.
Yeah, because if I remove it, it's complaining. Mhm.
For example, if you want to search by not ID but by the name, you could put the name, for example, here, and you have to put inside of two, you need to change to the string and put like Morty Smith, for example.
Mhm.
It's gonna be name here. You need to change to number.
Yeah, no, they are saying that the field character, we can just, it can search just only for the ID.
Okay.
Um, in order to do it. It's not searching for anything else. I mean, we have some limitation, we want or not, it's just. Mhm. Okay, and let's migrate this one into here. It will
Ish.
not be so many changes. Cons, and we just say character will be equals to something, and it will return something. First one, we import. What we are importing from GraphQL for Apollo, okay. Apollo with the Apollo client are the same thing as GraphQL, and will always be this use query. Two things, nothing more. Then we will create the query. Cons, the majority of time you use the query character, right? This query character get the GraphQL and the and this case the stick. And after that, we just copy what we have here.
What I have to call my component inside of add.jsx or inside of characters?
What?
What I have to call my character? The import my component character.
Oh, I didn't call it anywhere yet.
Yeah, I understand, but where we have to do it?
Well, I think in the main page, in the same way we were calling this into the app.js, I think it will be okay. We
Mm,
just wanted to see it right now. We
okay.
don't. There is nothing more. Then the structure will always look this very similar. And we use this use query. And we get query character. Something that it will going to change is this one. We can pass, in this case, one object, and inside that object, as the answer is going over there, we just get the variables, and then we pass what we want. That it will be in this case ID. I think I don't need to pass it like ID, and I pass the ID one.
It's inside
Eh,
of use query, right?
Sorry?
Yes, right.
Yes, and here I can just get the same information loading, errors, and data. Right? It is working the same part. I can just get what I needed, as always, and at the very end, I can even, first of all, I have to see it. Here is arriving from data. Here is not arriving from anything else, and it's data, and it's one object. Then I have already data. And data. And it will not be, no, this one is okay. Here I have data, and here I will return something, and I will just say, for example, data dot character, I think it will be, and the name.
I don't
And
know why, but when I put the double quotes to the ID, it's automatically removing the VS Code.
this one is removed. I think it will not be different if it's have it or not having it. I think like we can remove it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There is a, because remember the use query in this case Apollo client. This one is GraphQL. Maybe Apollo is already doing something over there that I don't know. And I think it's not needed, if I'm not mistaken. And I will just pass this one.
So, can you please go back to your character?
Yes, just give me 1 second. I just want to import it here. Yeah. Yeah. Here.
Uh, it's object, right? It's not array, it's object.
This one. Ah, the data.
No, data itself, yeah.
Yeah, the data, yes, because here, if you see it, what data is an object.
Okay.
And we see it here. Here we have it, this one. Rick Sanchez. Because if we are passing the number 1, if we were passing, for example, the number 100, if that exists, then it's bubonic plague, for example.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know completely the API, then it could be that I am something. Maybe there are more ways to query. Maybe I can query by extra things, not only by ID, but it will be nice to see it.
Okay.
So the main thing, I understand the logic. It's pretty understandable, everything. So, but I know I'm gonna forget the syntax. So anyway, I'm gonna go back and see how was there. But the main thing, I understand the logic. So
I am so happy for that.
yeah,
Honestly, it's
the
just
syntax is problem always.
and I find that the syntax quite easy to get it because basically you just have the query that you are passing and here's some variables. It will always return you the. If you learn this part, well, basically this part and this part, there are not many things honestly that you have to. Good thing you don't have to be dealing with try cache. You don't have to be dealing with error management. You don't have to be
Promise.
dealing with loading. Everything is doing from here, and you can forget about um the performance because the cache is managing everything. Oh, there are plenty of things like you can do. And what is a good thing about it? That basically you can just be calling this API everywhere, and if it's already in the cache, it will not go to the backend, and it because not going to the backend, then why do you need in this case one state management? You use your cache as a state management, and forget about Redux, and you just query every time that you need it. If exists, it will clash into the cache. If doesn't exist, it will go to the backend. And GraphQL is extremely fast if you compare it with GraphQL. Okay, I am not saying that you replace it, but some people tend to compare in this case, for example, Apollo client versus Redux. And there are some people that tend like the state management one on another one. And then you can read it in, you cannot be, you can get your own idea about yes or no. They are compatible or they are DNS. Some people will die for Redux, some people will die for Apollo client. I am the one who pay me that I will use it. If you pay me to use Redux, I will use Redux. If you pay me for using GraphQL, in Apollo, I will use Apollo. If you pay me for using Context API, I will do it. At the very end, it's just a technology. It doesn't really matter what you use. It make the work is the important.
But also one thing, less code, less problems. With
That's
the
true.
with the Redux is like 20 line of
Yeah, yeah,
code.
yeah. But I will tell you something. The majority of time we cannot select what we will use it.
Yeah.
Is someone else already took the decision and we just eat it and that's it. Maybe the decision was taken 8 years ago and you just have to work with it, my friend. That's it.
Mm.
There is not much that you can do it. I will lie you before closing today. Maybe you try to use this other API. For example, the only thing that you need to do is now that you have it in this, if you already did it, you can just comment this one and into the main JS, change this API for this API. Then you will have this another API, for example, that is existing in that moment. And you can just fetch something else. By the way, exists in this case the way that we can update the API because GraphQL is not just fetching. We can also delete, we can use in this case modify or everything. But that one, I think mutation, we will just see it on Saturday, I think, or not to have too many stuff. For at least for today. And we can practice it a little bit. It would be nice if you try to use the API, right? Like this one, and just to create a pro how can I say, fetch some products. That is something. It's the same as here, right? You can just get the products, price, and for example, here, if you see it, images, in this case, you go over here, and the images are an array of elements that is arriving.
Mhm.
Let's-
The size is, I guess, different, right?
Yeah, the size are different, and also they have this slash that I think it will be interesting to remove it. Oh, very nice photo. It's not important to show the photos. It's more
Can you
just
please one
to.
more time to show your like main JSX how to use the column? Not
Yeah,
ready for
Let's do it.
client.
I can just divide it and move it here, maybe.
Hmm.
Like this. This is the
So,
main.
which one you had to do the last one? That escalates, School JS, right? That
Yeah,
one you
yeah,
said?
yeah. Yeah, yeah, that one. I think I sent it into the uh, in chat is over there. You can just. I think I will stop the record because it will may take some time.